They taught you how to be good. They never taught you how to survive when goodness is punished. From the moment you could understand words, the world gave you rules. Be kind. Be fair. Be patient. Trust people. Those rules sounded safe, warm, human. But no one told you those same rules would one day become the reason your mind breaks. Most people do not fail because they are weak. They fail because they believed a story that was never true. You were told that if you work hard, life will reward you. That if you are honest, people will respect you. That if you mean well, things will work out in the end. And when those things did not happen, you blamed yourself. But the truth is darker than that. The world does not reward effort. It rewards leverage. Power does not come from being right. It comes from being prepared for how people really are. Machiavelli saw this long before modern life made it obvious. He watched leaders fall not because they were cruel, but because they were naive. They believed promises. They trusted smiles. They thought morality would protect them in a world driven by fear and desire. Look around you now. The most ruthless people are not always the strongest. They are simply the least surprised. They are not shocked by betrayal. They are not broken by rejection. They are not confused when kindness is taken for weakness. While others ask, "Why did this happen to me?" they ask, "What did I expect from human nature?" This is where the awakening begins. Your mind does not break from pain. It breaks from confusion. Pain can be endured. Loss can be survived. But when your beliefs collapse, everything inside you collapses with them. You thought loyalty was permanent. You thought fairness was real. You thought effort guaranteed results. And when reality disagreed, you felt betrayed by life itself. That is the moment most people become bitter, or soft, or angry at the wrong targets. But there is another option, a colder one, a stronger one. You can replace illusion with clarity. Machiavelli never asked you to stop caring. He asked you to stop lying to yourself. He understood that people are driven by fear, gain, and survival before honor. That love is conditional. That loyalty lasts only as long as it is useful. This does not make people evil. It makes them human. History is filled with examples. Kings who trusted alliances were overthrown by them. Generals who spared enemies were killed by the same hands they showed mercy to. Men who gave everything to others were abandoned the moment they needed help. Not because the world is cruel, but because it is honest in a way we do not like. An unbreakable mind begins when you stop expecting people to act better than they are wired to. Expectation is where suffering is born. When you expect fairness, injustice feels personal. When you expect loyalty, betrayal feels fatal. When you expect kindness to protect you, reality feels cruel. But when you expect nothing, you are never shocked, only informed. This is the first ruthless lesson. Power is not about domination. It is about awareness. Awareness of how incentives work. Awareness of how fear shapes decisions. Awareness of how quickly people change when comfort is threatened. Once you see this, you stop feeling confused by life. You stop asking emotional questions. And you start making strategic decisions. You become calm where others panic, measured where others react, prepared where others hope. Machiavelli once warned that men forget kindness faster than loss, not because they are heartless, but because memory bends toward self-interest. That truth hurts at first. It feels like the world is colder than you were promised. But cold does not mean weak. Cold means clear. The moment you accept this, something inside you shifts. You stop taking everything personally. You stop needing the world to be fair. You stop waiting for permission to protect yourself. And slowly, quietly, your mind begins to harden. Not with anger, not with hate, but with understanding. This is not the end of innocence. It is the beginning of strength. The world did not betray you. It simply revealed itself. The pain you felt was not from truth. It was from illusion breaking. Once you stop asking life to be gentle, you stop being shocked by its force. And in that acceptance, your mind takes its first step toward becoming unbreakable. The first ruthless lesson is this: your mind breaks when your beliefs collide with reality. The world does not reward goodness, it rewards awareness and preparation. To become unbreakable, you must let go of comforting lies and accept human nature as it is. Only then can clarity replace confusion and strength replace disappointment. Once you see the world clearly, the danger moves closer. It no longer lives outside you. It lives inside. This is where most people fail. They think power is taken from them by others, but real power is usually given away through emotion. Anger, fear, hope, pride. The moment one of these takes control, your mind becomes predictable, and what is predictable can be used. People do not need to overpower you if they can provoke you. They only need to push the right button and wait. Look at how often this happens. Someone insults you and your chest tightens. Someone doubts you and you rush to prove yourself. Someone threatens to leave and you beg them to stay. In those moments, you are no longer thinking. You are reacting. And reaction is the language of weakness. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He knew that the loudest man in the room is often the easiest to control, because emotion announces itself. It reveals intention. It shows where the wound is. A calm mind hides everything. Throughout history, the most dangerous people were never the angriest. They were the quiet ones, the ones who did not raise their voice, the ones who watched while others lost control. A general who panics loses battles before they begin. A leader who seeks approval loses authority the moment the crowd turns. A man who reacts emotionally surrenders his position without realizing it. Modern life makes this even worse. Social media rewards reaction. Outrage spreads faster than truth. People expose their fears, their anger, their needs publicly. They think they are being honest. In reality, they are giving away leverage. When someone knows what makes you angry, they can steer you. When they know what you fear, they can stop you. When they know what you desire, they can distract you. This is not manipulation. This is human nature at work. The second ruthless lesson is not to kill emotion. That would make you numb, not strong. The lesson is to delay it. Emotion is fast. Strategy is slow. Emotion wants release. Strategy wants results. An unbreakable mind does not act in the heat of feeling. It creates space. A pause, a breath. In that pause, power is born. Machiavelli believed that self-control was the foundation of all rule. If you cannot govern yourself, you will always be governed by someone else, by their words, their pressure, their timing. Think about how many decisions people regret, messages sent in anger, deals accepted out of fear, promises made out of loneliness. These choices feel right in the moment, but they cost you later. Emotion gives short relief and long damage. This is why discipline feels uncomfortable. It denies emotion its immediate reward. It forces you to sit with the feeling instead of obeying it. Anger passes, fear fades, desire weakens, but actions remain. Those who master this become difficult to read, hard to provoke, impossible to rush. They do not explain themselves when insulted. They do not rush decisions when pressured. They do not react when others expect them to break. This creates an invisible advantage. People begin to doubt their influence over you. They feel uncertain, and uncertainty shifts power. The descent is lonely because emotional restraint is misunderstood. Others may think you are cold, distant, unmoved. But what they are really seeing is control. A controlled mind chooses when to speak, when to move, when to strike, and when to wait. This is not about dominance over others. It is about dominance over impulse. Machiavelli once warned that men are ruled by appearances, and nothing shapes appearance more than emotion. The man who looks calm appears strong. The man who looks desperate appears weak. This is why silence can be louder than rage, why patience can be more threatening than aggression. When you stop reacting, you force others to reveal themselves. They become louder, more emotional, more exposed. And you learn. This is the turning point, where awareness becomes discipline, where clarity becomes restraint. You begin to feel emotions rise, but you do not follow them. You observe them like weather passing through. Strong, but temporary, and with each moment of restraint, your mind becomes harder to shake. Emotion is not the enemy. Obedience to emotion is. The world does not fear your anger. It anticipates it. But it hesitates before a mind it cannot read or rush. Control yourself first, and the chaos around you loses its grip. The second ruthless lesson is this: your emotions are not your strength, your control over them is. Those who react are predictable, and the predictable are easy to use. An unbreakable mind learns to pause, observe, and choose instead of obey. Those who cannot govern themselves will always be governed by others. If you stay on this path long enough, something strange happens. The noise around you begins to fade, and the silence grows heavier. Not empty. Heavy. This is the stage most people never reach. Not because it is too hard, but because it is too quiet. When you stop reacting, people notice. When you stop explaining yourself, they feel uneasy. When you stop seeking approval, they do not know where to place you. You are no longer easy to read, and that alone separates you. This is where loneliness begins. Not the lonely kind that comes from being unwanted, but the lonely kind that comes from being unmatched. Discipline creates distance. Because most people bond through shared weakness, not shared strength. They connect over complaints, fears, and chaos. When you no longer live there, you no longer belong there. Machiavelli understood this cost well. He knew that power isolates before it protects. That self-rule comes before influence. And that solitude sharpens the mind in ways comfort never will. You begin to spend more time alone with your thoughts. Not to escape the world, but to study yourself. You notice patterns, triggers, old habits that once ruled you quietly. This is not a pleasant process. It feels like standing in front of a mirror that does not lie. Discipline is built here, not in loud promises or public displays, but in small, private decisions no one applauds. Waking up when you do not feel like it. Holding your tongue when ego demands release. Walking away when pride wants to win. Each act feels minor, but together they form something unbreakable. Because discipline is not restriction, it is freedom from impulse. As this grows, something else changes. You stop chasing attention, validation, approval. You realize how expensive those things are, how much control they cost you. Most people live externally. Their mood depends on messages. Their worth depends on praise. Their direction depends on others, but mastery turns the direction inward. You begin to move without announcing, plan without sharing, grow without performing. This makes people uncomfortable. Because a man who does not seek permission cannot be easily managed. Machiavelli believed that the strongest position is self-reliance. Because what depends on others can be taken, but what is built within cannot be touched. This is the quiet power no one teaches, the kind that does not demand attention, the kind that does not need to prove itself. You stop reacting to disrespect, not because you are weak, but because you choose your battles. You stop explaining your silence. You stop defending your path. And slowly, the world changes its behavior around you. Not because you demanded respect, but because your presence carries weight. People sense when someone is not desperate. They feel it. They respond to it. This is mastery. Not domination. Not control over others, but control over self. Loneliness remains, but it no longer hurts. It becomes space. Space to think, space to sharpen, space to see clearly while others rush blindly. You learn that most chaos is optional. Most conflict is invited. Most suffering is emotional debt from undisciplined choices. And you no longer pay that price. Machiavelli never promised peace. He promised stability. A mind that does not collapse under pressure. A will that does not bend to noise. Once you reach this stage, fear loses its grip. So does praise, so does blame. You are no longer moved easily, and that is the final form of power. Because the world can only control what it can shake, and you are no longer shaking. Mastery does not feel dramatic. It feels quiet. It feels steady. The loneliness does not disappear, but it stops being heavy. When you master yourself, the world no longer decides who you are. The final ruthless lesson is this: an unbreakable mind is built in silence, discipline, and solitude. Loneliness is not a weakness here. It is the space where self-mastery grows. When you stop seeking approval and start governing yourself, true inner power forms. Once you master yourself, the world loses its power over you.